Well, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Thomas Randolph? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Thomas William Randolph was born in 1955 in Fairfield, Illinois. He went by the name Tom. His father was in the Air Force, and his mother was a bookkeeper. At some point, Tom moved to Utah. He had dreams of being a lawyer and even worked for a law firm at one point. In August 1975, when Tom was 20 years old, he married an 18-year-old woman named Catherine. During their marriage, Tom was unfaithful. This is a behavior that Tom would repeat many times. He also started selling drugs. Catherine said that he was controlling, manipulative, harmful, and once threw a bowl of oatmeal at the wall because it did not have sugar on it. Saddled by the unbearable weight of this sugar-free oatmeal incident, the couple divorced on April 7, 1983. As it turns out, this was a big day for Tom. Not only did he get divorced, he married on that day as well. His second wife, who according to Tom had been a long-term affair partner, was named Becky. During their marriage, she became addicted to cocaine. On November 7, 1986, Becky died from a single gunshot wound to the head. She was found in her bed with a firearm on her chest. The police initially believed that she had brought an end to her own life, but found it curious that in May 1987, Tom collected $530,000 in life insurance. A man named Eric Tarantino, who had been friends with Tom, came forward to the police and said that Tom asked him to murder Becky. Eric refused, so maybe Tom took care of Becky himself. Based on the life insurance payout and Eric's statement, Tom was charged with murder. While he was in jail, he approached a person he believed was a fellow inmate and asked him to murder Eric. As it turns out, the man was not an inmate, rather an undercover police officer. Tom had his girlfriend deliver a $10,000 payment to the hitman and was charged accordingly. In 1989, Tom went to trial for murdering Becky, but the jury was not allowed to hear anything about the hitman. This wasn't the only problem with the state's case. The scene of the shooting had not been properly secured, and Tom had an alibi which covered part of the time range when Becky may have been killed. He had been stopped for driving under the influence, so essentially he was saying that he could not have committed the murder because he was too busy committing another crime. The jury found Tom not guilty of murder. Later, he ended up pleading guilty to felony witness tampering for that whole hitman situation. He was sentenced to up to 5 years in prison and released in 1992. In March 1994, Tom married for the third time to a woman named Leona. They divorced less than a year later in February 1995. Leona died of cancer in March 2006. In October 1995, Tom married his fourth wife, who was named Gaina. She would later say that one time when Tom was cleaning a gun, the weapon discharged and the bullet struck the kitchen wall behind her. She believed that bullet was intended for her. The couple divorced in July 1996, mostly because of the alleged attempted murder part. In August 1997, Tom married for the fifth time to a woman named Frances. She died in April 2004 after having heart surgery. Tom would later be awarded $387,000 in a wrongful death lawsuit. In March 2007, Tom married for the sixth and final time to a woman named Sharon. The couple lived in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On May 8, 2008, Tom called 911 to report that an intruder shot his wife. He in turn responded by shooting and killing this intruder. When officers arrived, they found the bodies of Tom's wife Sharon Randolph and Tom's friend Michael Miller. Sharon had been killed by a single gunshot wound to the head. Michael had been shot 5 times. 2 of those gunshots were to the head. Tom said that he and his wife had been out that night. Eager to have sex, they sped back to their home, returning at about 8:30 p.m. After Sharon exited the vehicle and entered the house, Tom pulled the vehicle into the garage. When he entered the house, he found Sharon in the hallway, face down on the floor. At this point, Tom was startled by an unexpected movement, retrieved one of his pistols from a nearby room, and encountered a masked intruder. He struggled with the intruder in the hallway and managed to shoot him 3 times. The intruder made it to the garage, where he collapsed. Tom fired 2 more shots into the intruder's head. Tom indicated that he recognized the intruder as his friend Michael Miller. Michael had performed various odd jobs for Tom over the last few months. Here is what the police found during the course of their investigation. In the months leading up to the shootings, Tom frequently communicated with Michael. They exchanged hundreds of phone calls and spoke privately on many occasions. The police noticed some inconsistencies in the story that Tom supplied about the shooting. For example, Tom said he confronted Michael in the hallway, but it didn't look like there had been a struggle there. Early in the relationship between Tom and Sharon, Tom took out a life insurance policy on her. In the month after the murder, Tom collected $100,000 from that policy. Tom was arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit murder and 2 counts of murder with the use of a deadly weapon. The state believed that Tom hired Michael to kill Sharon and stage a burglary so that Tom could collect her life insurance benefit. After Michael murdered Sharon, Tom murdered Michael. Tom did not want to leave behind any loose ends. In 2017, Tom went to trial, was convicted, and received the death penalty. In 2020, his conviction was overturned. The court ruled that the jury should have never heard about the suspicious circumstances surrounding the death of Tom's second wife, Becky, in 1986. Tom went to trial again in 2023. He was once again convicted. This time he was sentenced to 2 terms of life in prison to be served consecutively. He is looking at 60 years to life. Tom is not in good health, therefore will probably not receive the full benefit of his sentence. Now moving to my analysis. Thomas Randolph maintains his innocence and has filed an appeal. He was already successful with 1 appeal. Maybe he will be successful again. Tom's defense argued that Michael murdered Sharon and Tom killed Michael in self-defense. The state, of course, disagrees. They believe that Tom conspired with Michael, so both of them committed murder. This brings me to the question, is Tom guilty of murder? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that he is guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. Tom had a long history of infidelity, having previous wives die, collecting insurance money, and being manipulative. After the death of his second wife, he pleaded guilty to witness tampering. If Michael Miller was in the Randolph house to steal, why did he kill Sharon? Upon hearing Sharon enter the house, Michael could have avoided her and exited. After murdering Sharon, why didn't Michael murder Tom when Tom was standing near Sharon's body? Tom acted as though he did not immediately know what happened to Sharon, like she may have tripped or something like that. Yet a neighbor heard the gunshots. Tom must have heard them too. How did he not know what caused Sharon's death? How did Tom have time to retrieve a firearm and shoot Michael? How was Tom able to get the upper hand during the physical struggle with Michael when Michael was younger and healthier? There wasn't much evidence of an altercation in the hallway except for 1 spent case on the floor. For example, there was no damage or marks on the walls and no blood. Michael was found dead in the garage, but the revolver he used to kill Sharon was in the house. Why would he leave the murder weapon behind? Tom shot Michael in the head 2 times, yet Michael's undamaged ski mask was found next to his body. There were no bullet holes in the mask. This is consistent with Michael removing the mask before he was shot, which is exactly what he may have done if he was in a conspiracy with Tom. Michael had the key to the Randolph house in his possession. This is not necessarily surprising considering he did odd jobs for Tom, but he also had a key to the safe in the house. In a video-recorded reenactment of the incident, Tom changed his story a little bit and appeared to be callous. For example, he called the injury to his wife the grossest thing he had ever seen in his life, and mentioned how he grew tired of performing CPR. Moving to the exculpatory factors, other than frequent communication between the men and the key to the safe being in Michael's possession, there was no evidence that Tom hired Michael to murder Sharon. For example, no money changed hands. Next to Michael's body, there was a bag full of Sharon's jewelry. This, of course, is consistent with a burglary. Tom said that during the physical altercation, the ski mask moved up Michael's face. Perhaps Michael pulled it off in response, which is why it was found on the garage floor. When considering all the evidence in this case, do I think that Tom is guilty of murder? Yes, in my opinion, he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. His description of confronting Michael and killing him in self-defense doesn't make any sense. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Tom was self-centered, grandiose, impulsive, sensation-seeking, immature, vain, arrogant, irresponsible, hedonistic, antisocial, manipulative, deceptive, cold, callous, unrefined, crude, offensive, possessed superficial charm, falsely believed he was special, had a sense of entitlement, and was exceedingly creepy. For reasons which appear to defy rational explanation, Tom had a tremendous level of romantic success. He was married 6 times and had many girlfriends. In jail, he said, "I'm a true romantic." He liked talking about sex and how successful he was in obtaining sex. Tom appeared to enjoy shocking people with disgusting, graphic, and inappropriate comments. From Tom's point of view, romantic partners were valuable not only for sex, but for money. Tom probably murdered his second wife, Becky, but he was able to escape responsibility and keep the life insurance payout. Instead of counting himself fortunate and giving up a life of crime, Tom decided to do the same thing with his 6th wife, Sharon. Tom was able to manipulate Michael into murdering Sharon. Somehow he convinced Michael that the scenario where Sharon is confronted by an intruder and killed somehow made sense, even though Tom was going to be there as well. Why would Tom hire a hitman only to be present at the scene of the murder himself as it was happening? This is discarding the one advantage of having a hitman, an alibi. Michael should have realized this and known that Tom was setting him up. After Michael held up his part of the bargain and murdered Sharon, the 2 men walked into the garage, where Tom produced a semi-automatic pistol and shot Michael to death. Tom probably believed he had committed the perfect murder. There was no question who killed Sharon, and that man was dead. Case closed. No need for law enforcement to look any further. What Tom didn't understand was how his history of bad acts made him an obvious suspect. He was unable to empathize and did not understand how people perceived him. Tom thought that he could talk his way out of anything, but by reenacting the shooting for the police, ended up talking his way into prison. Now moving to my final thoughts. One theme that emerges in the case of Thomas Randolph is how he truly viewed himself as being unbelievably attractive. He made it seem as though his romantic partners were desperate to have sex with him, would do anything to make themselves worthy of his love and attention, and were even okay with him cheating. Like it was such a privilege to be with him, they would put up with anything. It wasn't even really cheating because they were agreeing to it. He was so amazingly and overwhelmingly attractive, and so skilled as a lover, no reasonable partner could expect him to be with just one woman. This would be denying an incredible gift to women who encountered him. Tom's romantic success was caused by a combination of his ability to manipulate, low standards by his partners, and their desire to remain in a marriage to avoid inconvenience. He proved that some people are so desperate for what they believe is love. Even being with him was tolerable. Those are my thoughts on the case of Thomas Randolph. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They consistently generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.